Senior Senator from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise as an elected senator representing all the people in my district. Not too long ago, a single mother came to me, 2 children, said, "Senator, there's a lot of talk about jobs, jobs, jobs." Frankly, Senator, I have 3 jobs. What I need is 1 good paying job. And it dawns on me that I think that each and every one of us, regardless of where you stand, what party you're in, or what group, particularly in this chamber, that we all are about jobs. There's no question. The question comes down to, what are we talking about when we talk about jobs? Are we talking about quality jobs for West Virginians? Or are we talking about jobs in general in the macro sense? For me, representing my constituents as elected representative, Senator from Nicholas, I am all about quality jobs for West Virginians. This lady continued to say, she said, "You know, I don't know much about economics, but it seems to me to think that what you are discussing down in Charleston, that in a lot of ways you're blaming the economic condition of the state of West Virginia on the people of West Virginia. Because you're saying that the reason why we don't have good quality jobs is because we pay our people too much." I can't disagree. This is what this is about. I've heard inflated salaries, and West Virginians being paid inflated salaries, and that's why we want to get rid of the prevailing wage. And to me, she's right. It seems like our debate is about the reason our economic condition is the way it is because we think that there are certain West Virginians getting paid too much money in these inflated things, so we want to repeal the prevailing wage, which will drive down their wages. She went on and said, "Senator, again, I'm just a working person, but I'll tell you what I think the problem is. I think the economic problem in West Virginia is the fact that we don't get paid enough. Because if we did, we could actually buy more products locally. We could do more things. There'd be more stimulation in the economy." I can't disagree with her. Now, I don't have, Senator from Jackson, a PhD in economics, but I do have a degree in economics from Oxford. And we studied this. And one of the areas, people we studied is, of course, the founder of capitalism, Adam Smith, an economist, 18th century economist, that talks about this. As a matter of fact, they say that they touted him as being the first capitalist and the father of modern economics. And in there he talks about the invisible hand in the economics, in the economy. See, in this, what we're doing right now with the prevailing wage is kind of like an invisible hand, in the sense that what's happening is it allows for local people to be paid adequate wages, competitive wages, so that those wages and that money stays in the local economy. We've heard this yesterday of Davis and Bacon, and the reason for the prevailing wage was the very notion of trying to attempt to keep the money locally. You know, the rising tide lifts all ships. If someone's on a contract project with the state, using state money, and they're paid well, that, of course, rises the whole tide for the whole community. The safeguards. My good friend, Senator from Logan, talks about the uncertainty and the fear of the uncertainty. And that's what the prevailing wage was also to try to prevent, is that uncertainty. The uncertainty is that if you take away this provision and you open it up to the free market, and we're all for the free market, but without the invisible hand, it runs amok. We saw that with the financial crisis that this country's gone through when there's no brakes. And what happens? Adam Smith would be the first to admit that. That's why you need the invisible hand. But in that uncertainty of taking that away opens up a market where contractors, which they can right now bid for projects, could come in, and they could do this now. They could underbid our contractors, West Virginia companies that hire West Virginians. They could do that now. But what they would do is artificially drive the labor costs low, because they would use low-paying labor and import those individuals here and pay them less. Now, we all know, we turn on the television, we have a illegal immigration problem in this country. People coming across droves, working illegally. And I'm going to tell you something, all you got to do is ask anybody in West Virginia, do you know of any sites where there are illegal immigrants? And they'll all tell you yes. They see them. They see them in their communities. But now these out-of-state firms will come in, importing low-waged workers to replace West Virginian jobs with low-paid workers from the outside. Creates uncertainty. They no longer have the work anymore. Why? Because someone was imported or was imported in by this company and took my job. What's the cost going to be with that family when that worker can no longer raise their family? What's the cost going to be on the state? Now, I can't get the answer. I've asked for a fiscal note, and it just seems to be that all the information is provided, but I can't seem to get that information. What the cost is going to be. What's the ripple effect on that? And the senator from Putnam, finance chair, that's going to have an impact on our budget if that family member can't raise their family and has to go into DHHR, and the services are going to be provided. Look, Mr. President, let me tell you about uncertainty. This chamber, we talk about free markets, and yes, we're all for that. We're talking about capitalism. We're all for that. But you know what, Mr. President? We also, in this very chamber last year, also put provisions in to put certainty in a certain market where there was uncertainty. And I want to point to you Senate Bill 453 that did two things. Senate Bill 453 last year did two things. First thing it did, it directed sales of Tesla vehicles were banned. Direct sales of Tesla vehicles were banned in West Virginia. We didn't want some out-of-state corporation coming in and creating uncertainty with our car dealerships here in the state. So we said, you know what, we're going to protect our folks and put in some certainty. Let me tell you what else it did. It's also provided a minimum reimbursement calculation that manufacturers must pay auto dealerships for warranty repairs. My goodness, if that doesn't sound like a prevailing wage, it sounds like it to me. But we put certainty. We want to make sure that our folks who hire West Virginians, pay West Virginians wages, that they would have the certainty in order that they could survive and wouldn't be undercut by out-of-state corporations bringing in cheap products, cheap labor that would undercut our workers in our state, Mr. President. Now I'm going to end on this. Ancient philosopher, Diogenes. He was a cynic, and he walked around. Some people said he was a little eccentric. But he walked around with a lit lantern with him. And they asked him one day, Why in the world do you walk around with a lit lantern? And Diogenes says, I'm looking for an honest man. Mr. President, right now, let's all be honest men and women, and let's reject House Bill 4005. Thank you.